Hello there, and welcome to Women's Business.
My name is Dr. Marianne Shallcross Smith, known to most as Dr. Daycare, and this is my co-host, Amy Vogel. We'd like to welcome you to our mentoring program designed to educate our community on issues facing working women. We will be speaking to our guests in the areas art, sciences, health, education, law, medicine, politics, community service, military, and business.
The goal of the show is to provide information that comes only from personal experience and to pass this information down to our daughters, nieces, neighbors, family, and friends. Much of the content will relate to the guest speaker's journey in their profession, what they have learned most about this process, and what they wished they had known before this journey began. Since women-owned businesses are the fastest growing sector of our economy, my guests will close with what lesson they would like to pass on to the viewing audience.
Hello there, and welcome to Women's Business. My name is Dr. Marianne Shallcross Smith, and my co-host is my daughter, Amy Vogel. And today we'd like to welcome to the show Kaydi McQuade from Back Pocket Resource. Tell us about Back Pocket Resource, Kaydi.
So Back Pocket Resources is a full-service staffing collaborative that's based in Lincoln, Rhode Island. We are relationship-driven and designed to provide the best companies in Rhode Island with the best resources for their needs, whether they be temporary, contract, or permanent placements.
That must keep you very busy.
It does.
Especially with the economy the way it is today.
It does, yes.
Absolutely. Give us one of your best learning experience in this business.
So I'm reasonably new to the business. I have joined the company about a year ago when we founded. I've been watching over a long period of time as the industry has changed and the demands on contractors have changed and the interests of businesses have changed, so that staffing really becomes like a matchmaking service at its ideal. It finds exactly what the reason is, what the story behind the need is, and matches that with the person who's just right to fill that need.
I love what you just said, matchmaking. That is so important as employers. In our child care facilities, the onboarding is, number one, a lot of work. Number two, very expensive. Number three, takes a lot of people, because we're in the child care industry, so we have background checks, we have fingerprint checks, we have all kinds of, you have to have flu shots. And the matchmaking, all of a sudden you do all this interviewing, everything, and then you bring it together, and 2 or 3 months into it, it's not a match. So given any ideas how we can not go through that process, and is there any special formula out there you can share?
You know, the magic, the secret sauce is really just to understand the story behind the need, right? The employer has a need. Why, if they've got this pile of money on the table, are they not having somebody fill it, right? Is it because they need just the right match within a team? Is it because they need a unicorn skill set? Is it because, you know, something to do with the role is unique? And then what is the person looking for, right? Because we spend so much of our life at work, so we want to understand that we're in a place where we're valued, where we can make a contribution, where it's a type of team that we interact well with, it's a style of work that we interact well with, the demands are clear. And then when you really understand that about the person and you really understand that about the role, you can bring it together in a way that makes everyone happy.
So for a lot of your recruits, if it doesn't work out with an employer, do you check in with them to see why it didn't work out?
We do. Yep.
What do you think is the top 2 or 3 reasons it doesn't work out?
Generally, when the expectations aren't aligned with the reality. That is the biggest problem that we see.
So they thought they were going for one job, but in actuality it was something different because it was presented in kind of a
and what happens
way.
within a team is teams are very dynamic. So sometimes the manager who's making the hiring decision or the owner believes that the person is going to be doing X, Y, and Z, but in reality, when they get into the group is pushing them to do A, B, and C because somebody else is already doing X, Y, and Z.
Now that's an interesting concept. I actually never thought of that. So they come in with one set of expectations and it totally flips when they get on board. Wow, that, you know, a light bulb goes off. A light bulb just went off. for
Well,
me.
it's good to
Wow.
hear that, yeah.
How does that happen? Like, how really? Is it because there's not communication within their business?
Sometimes
Or how
it's-
can we eliminate that from happening to help the client?
Well, I mean, I think that there's been a lot of focus on management really understanding the roles that they're doing. I know when I was on the school committee, for example, one of the things that we wanted to do was have the school committee members and the principals and everyone walk through and spend a day in the life of a teacher to really understand what was happening, or of a TA, a teacher's assistant,
Yep.
so that we could understand what the expectations were, what the demands are, and what their actual day looked like. And that becomes very difficult in business because everyone's so busy. There's so
Yes.
many demands on their time. You can't necessarily take a day out and go work in the role, you know, that is supposed to be reporting to you. And so that sometimes doesn't get communicated clearly.
That's a significant piece. It's like walk a mile in my shoes just to see what my day is like. That's a great concept. We do it with our directors. We have them go to one center, the other, just so they get a sense of another center and what the different culture is in the center. But to take a principal and put them in a classroom or a teacher's aide, that can give you a very different concept of what the day's like. Pretty neat.
And I also feel that, so in particular with our organization, the person hiring is the direct supervisor.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't hire a teacher's assistant because I wouldn't directly supervise them. And when after the teacher assistant comes in for the interview, then they go into a classroom and see what it's about. Because I agree, I think sometimes we maybe overinflate the position, make it sound a little bit more glamorous than it is.
Right.
And you're selling your business, right? When you're interviewing someone, you're trying to sell it because you want them to come. And if you do give higher expectations of what the job is versus what it is in reality, I could see why there'd be a discourse and the people won't stay.
One of the fundamental parts of our training that we have at Back Pocket Resources is kill the deal. We don't want to find who's right for the position. We want to find out why you're not right for the position. Because if I can find out, if I push back and say, oh, but you don't really want to do this, oh, but you don't really want to do that, you've been doing this, why would you move into a position where you're doing that? If you can convince me that this is a job that you want, and that even with whatever barriers I'm putting up with to do with commute or rate or the team or whatever else, if you can convince me that you're right for this job, chances are you're more right for the job than if I had said, oh, I can get someone in here really quickly and get my commission immediately. And that's that relationship-based piece.
100%.
Now, if someone out there today is watching the show and from Back Pocket Resources and like, okay, I'm home, I've been home for 10 years, now my kids are all in school, I want to go back to work, I really don't know what I want to go into. How do they start the process? Is it a phone call? Is it online? Is there an onboarding process? Do you have to have BCI? What would, if anyone's watching and wants to get involved?
I mean, I think at the end of the day, we're not an employment firm. We're not a job coaching service. So we wouldn't be able to sort of walk you from that ground floor of where you're not really sure where you want to go and what that looks like for you. But I mean, I was a teacher myself. I suggest every time, go take a class, go job shadow, look for an opportunity to talk to people, understand what different roles are. Even from when I first entered the workforce 25 years ago, it's totally different, right? It's the jobs that there are different, the reliance on technology is different, the way that people interact is different. And so, you know, I do have gaps in my employment from taking care of my children and moving it, and most women do it at some point or another, and many men too. And you know, it is important to become aware of what the expectations are, what the job market looks like, what different positions expect from you, and match that with what your interests are, what your abilities are. If you need additional training or additional certifications, that's always a great idea.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think today there's so much need for technical and trades that people don't have, and I think you're completely right. Find out if it's something you want to get into, and if it is, dive into it. Get the certificates, maybe get the license or whatever, and you're going to make yourself employable because people need those skill sets that are just not as readily available as they were like 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
So it's huge, but it's trying to find what do you really want to do?
Yeah.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm like,
oh, this will be a fourth grade teacher. It's interesting. We have a comment here. I was also on the school committee in Lincoln many, many years ago, and I love Lincoln. Born, raised there. As you said, your children go to Salesville. I went to sales, and my daughter went to sales, but still in Lincoln, I give back a lot. So I have a career day at the middle school and the high school. But last week, my marketing director, Rebecca, and I did the career day at the middle school. And we said, okay, how are we going to do this? And I'm hearing over and over, because I'm a member of the Northern Ireland Chamber and also the SBA, and I'm hearing over and over again, you can't even start in high school. You got to get down to middle school and teach these kids how to dress, how to interview. So we did a whole process on how to interview and how to dress up for an interview in front of probably about 15, maybe 130 students. And you had to see that kids' eyes. They're all middle school kids, and you think they're too young, but they're not. And one of the things I said to them, picking up on what you said, I go, you're 14, I think this group was 14 or 15, I go, you need to get yourself to the Lincoln School Department main office. I explained where it was, on Lonsdale Avenue, and get yourself working papers. So if you want to volunteer and you think you want to be a veterinarian, call up your local vet and say, I want to volunteer one day after school, and I already got my working papers. I've already got those ready to go. You need to be prepared. And the kids are like, wow, wow. It was like, that's the first time I ever went in the middle school neighborhood to talk about this, thinking that should have been in the junior, senior, high school, juniors, or seniors.
Yeah.
But it is shifting down. Wow, it's amazing.
It is amazing. I had a great opportunity a couple of weeks ago to meet with a class of students who are looking towards their career building and looking at their personal branding and those sorts of aspects. And because so much of what I do is on the phone, I did like a one-day lesson on phone etiquette.
Oh, wow.
And I walked into this room, and there's a bunch of high school students, and they're looking at me, and they don't know me. And I come in, and I start telling them about how to leave an effective voicemail message. And they're looking, rolling, they're like, oh, my goodness, like, why is this lady telling? I've left 1,000 voicemail messages.
I know how to do this. They're thinking to themselves.
Okay, do it.
Yeah.
And they were, but my name, I have what, I don't know why
They
I'm
can't-
calling, right? And because they hadn't made a plan,
They had no idea.
they had no idea. And
They're
it-
like, can't I just text them? That's what is a voicemail?
right. What is it?
I can't tell you. I probably get today maybe 2 or 3 voicemails compared to emails and texts. But honestly, the voicemails I get, hi, Marianne, just to let you know, somebody named, can you call me back? I'm like, forgot to know who you were, where you're from,
Your
and
phone
how do I
number.
call you back?
Right.
And I learned many, many years, the first thing to do is introduce yourself, leave your phone number. At the very end, you can fill me in if that's changed any. At the very end, you leave your number again,
Yes.
even slower than the first time because I'm a fast talker. So
That's
people,
true.
I said, so the bottom line is, this is such an important part of phone etiquette, you know, because a lot of people are like, okay, thank God my phone has like caller ID, and sometimes you call that number back, because I call everybody back that calls me, it's just one of my things, and the caller ID doesn't match where they call from,
Right.
because I used another type of phone. So
Right.
let's hear a little bit about phone etiquette.
Well, the only thing that I would add to that, I think, yes, your name, your phone number, leave a hook, leave a reason for the call.
hook,
Why am
good.
I calling this person back? Because people are busy. And so if you get that message, like somebody gave me your number,
Why?
okay, to what end,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Why am I calling you back? And that I
Neat.
find is so helpful.
Leave a hook. I like that. That's a good one, Katie. Yeah,
Well, then
I
they
like that
also,
one.
when the person calls you back, they'll know how the conversation's going to kind of lead. Because I receive voice messages every now and then on my work phone more so than my personal phone. And they'll just, again, leave their name and number, but I'll be like, well, give me, like, if I can do some background
Yes.
work before I call you,
Yes.
it'll save maybe another call. So if
Right.
it's like, let's say a parent's calling about one of the centers and they want to say something like, this was great, at least I can call the center and be like, hey, blah, blah was saying this, can you give me some information? So when I call them, it's a reciprocal conversation of,
Right.
hey, I actually checked into that. I agree, the hook is huge, because
Yeah.
without that, another phone call is going to happen.
Right. And then you call them back, and you don't know why you're calling, and so you sound. Nobody likes to ever sound like they don't know what they're doing. Nobody
Exactly.
likes to sound incompetent,
Yeah.
right? So if you called me
don't.
and said, "Oh, so and so gave me your number," and then I call back and I find out it's because they're applying for a job as a teacher's assistant, or they're thinking about registering their child, or their child has been registered and they need to.
You're like,
I didn't know what we were talking about, so now I have to
and I think
feel
sometimes
like an idiot.
people think you know what they're calling you about.
Yeah.
They just naturally assume like, oh, she'll know.
Yeah.
But so many times you don't know because they're all so busy.
Yeah.
And that's not an excuse. It's just you go and go and go and go. And I'm like, just give me a little bit more information.
Well, and as I mentioned to you, both of my children went to Dr. Daycare
Yeah,
in
I heard that.
Pawtucket for
Rebecca
years, and they had
Pilgrim, yeah.
fabulous teachers and
thanks.
fabulous. And during that time, I had 2 children, and the center director probably had 45 in any given day. If I'm calling, I would have to be specific about, I'm calling about this child,
Yes.
not the whole
Yes.
thing.
Speaking about your children, one thing I've learned about doing this show since 2004 is they want a shout out. Give them a shout out.
Audrey and Liam, I know you're in school right now, but I can't wait to show you this video.
They will love it.
They are going to love that part of the whole video. It's all
yeah.
about the kids in my heart. It's always been about the kids, truly. The children are the whole aspect of my focus. So tell us a little bit, how did you get from there to here?
You know, I am still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
I think everyone is, and
right?
even like
Just be open
in the
to the
retirement home, I
change.
think like I'll be like, what do I want to do now?
I, in college, studied art history and theater because I thought it was just such a dynamic way to understand the world. When I came out, I was lucky to be employed by an art publisher
Oh, that's amazing.
in customer service and then moved into marketing, which was fabulous. I was taking a lot of trade show trips and traveling the world. And again, looking forward towards seeing, a future where I wanted to have children. I was thinking, I really don't know if I personally can be on the road 4 and 5 months a year. That's going to be a challenge for me. One of my product lines was an education-focused art line, and I loved listening to what these teachers were saying about what they were doing, what kinds of projects they were coming up with, how they were integrating different subjects. And so despite the fact that my mother's a teacher and I swore I would never be a teacher, I went back and got my master's degree.
We always say we're not going to be what
Hi,
what our moms are doing. Come on.
It changed when she had a daughter. I just want to let you know that.
I actually, I
A daughter's
didn't have
a
my
daughter.
children. Yeah, right.
You got one. Audrey.
I do, yes.
Totally. I mean, I love my sons. Don't get me wrong, but a daughter, just from a female perspective, just changed your whole life. Especially when you have a daughter, it's like, thank you, Lord, for giving us a granddaughter.
My daughter came first, so I don't know how I would have reacted if
you
I had
got
my
it.
son first.
Yeah.
But
It's
to
like
me,
a mirror,
both of
Connor.
them
It's
were
like a mirror.
yes,
Yeah.
in all ways.
It's beautiful.
So from teaching, when my children were young, I decided that for our family, it would be best for me to take some time off. I don't sit still well, so I worked in real estate and I worked with nonprofits and I ran for school committees so that I could use that expertise. That was in Pawtucket. Hey, Pawtucket.
I love Pawtucket.
And I love Pawtucket.
I do.
And
city.
then we, my husband, who has been working in staffing for over a decade, decided that it was time to start his own company.
Wow.
And given the breadth of my background, it was actually a really easy hand in glove for me to come in, train as a recruiter, and just start talking to people.
That's
Because
amazing.
that's kind of
You're
a
a
cool
natural.
job to just
Yeah.
talk to people
Yes.
all day. So
Yes. There's no there's maybe some spreadsheets, but most of it's just talking and relationship building.
it really is understanding who the other person is, what they're looking for. I hear horror stories from people about where they're sort of, I do this, that, and the other thing, and I really want to be in this field, and having an experience where they're just sort of pushed to be into something that's
Yes.
not right for them, that's not interesting for them, that's not relevant for them, that doesn't have the right work set up. They might be traveling too much or not enough, or whatever they're looking for, they're not the right salary. So really understanding the people that I'm working with and what they're looking for, and same thing on the business end. What does this team need? What would complement the people that are already there to help them be the most successful?
How does Back Pocket recruit people in?
When we're looking for a candidate for a role, we go to LinkedIn, we go to the jobs boards, Indeed, Monster Dice, all of those. We talk to folks that we already know. Hey, you're a project manager. We're looking for another project manager. Is there anyone you've worked with that you think is really fabulous, that you would think would be great for this role? And that is really the most valuable way to find people is through somebody else who would recommend, a referral, somebody who said, oh, I've worked with Marianne, she's fabulous, you should talk to her.
Now, how do you think it's harder to get the candidates or to get the businesses?
It's harder to get the businesses in general. With the candidates, I'm saying, like, here's a pile of money. With the businesses, I'm saying, I would like a pile of money, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Same thing.
And there's inertia. People even with the candidates, people have people that they've been working with, they have methods that they've been using. And so at the end of the day, every staffing company has the same pitch, right? We're going to get you the best candidates for the best price and in the quickest time, most efficient, the easiest way for you. it's really only by proving it that we're able to prove
Yeah.
it. So that's what we work to do every day.
In which industries at this moment do you work with the most?
So we are not industry specific.
Okay.
We have Sean's worked in companies where it's very industry
Yep.
specific. They only work in healthcare, they only work in finance. He's also worked in specific technologies where anyone in the world who needs somebody who's a master of this particular technology, he'll work with them. We've decided to go on a local geographic plan. So we're calling it our lunch radius. I would like to be able to go have lunch with anyone that I'm working with and not have it ruin my day. So basically, you know, Boston, Hartford, New York on a stretch, but New Haven certainly, anywhere in Rhode Island. And that's who we're targeting, that's who we're working with, and
That's great. So you do work with companies outside of Rhode Island?
We do, yep.
Yeah, which I'm sure is much better because Rhode Island's so small. Sometimes you need bigger platforms.
Yeah.
And you need more.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and it's relationship driven. So
Yeah.
if we know, if we worked with someone in the past who says, you know, like, hey, I've got this position in Dallas that I really need filled, we're certainly not going to tell them, nope,
No,
can't
yeah,
help
yeah.
you.
Right.
So
That's great.
We'll see how we can make that work, type of thing. And keep your options open, and you never know what's going to flow by you. I've learned that in life too.
Yeah.
And also, I was a recruiter for 1 year of my life, but I was an industry specific. I was recruiting for law firms. But then the internet was around, but it wasn't as prolific as it is today. Like now I'm sure just your husband can tell you when he started recruiting to today, how much the internet has played a role of, I would never recruit in Dallas when I worked in Boston. Like,
Right.
It wasn't heard of. It was,
Right.
nope, you're going to just be in Boston in law firms.
yeah.
Maybe we would go to like the South Shore or the North Shore. Like, that was a stretch. So, but I think it has a lot to do with technology and the internet and the availability of people.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's amazing. So it's a whole new industry, really.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
So since we're a family business, tell me how it is. I'm throwing this in. How's it with your family business? You and your husband working together. Got any pointers you can give a mother and daughter?
I don't know if I could work with my mom.
See?
Sorry, Mom.
Okay.
No, it's a different challenge, and you have to be cognizant of it. You have to understand that there needs to be a work and home balance and also separation. There has to be some time that is only family and some time that is only work. And you have to speak with each other in a respectful way so that even when you're frustrated and wanting to tear your hair out and go, yeah, why did you go and do this thing? You can still say, and I love you.
Yeah. Happy anniversary.
That's coming up, May 7th.
Oh, yeah,
You're almost there.
Lucky 13, so.
13, oh, that's pretty good. That's like
Yeah, and it's 2005.
Yep.
Yeah, and my husband and I, I'm like, oh yeah.
July.
Yeah, I know, but I had to think about the year for a second. Whoops.
Yeah, her husband was on his way off to Afghanistan, Iraq.
Afghanistan.
Yeah, so she put a fast wedding together. It's amazing how I never seen anyone put a wedding together from Memorial Day to July. I'm like, oh my God. She goes, but he's going off to war.
Well, he
Like,
was supposed to, but then they canceled.
yeah, but still at that
That's
point
the
he was
military.
going. You know, I'm like, wow.
I'm like, they just decided what they're gonna do.
Really?
I learned that quick into the relationship.
Yeah. So it's interesting that happens. So I have another question. Working with family is, and it happens to us, we have like 22 people at our home office, and sometimes for that moment, there's other people around, and sometimes we could just get into that concept of mother and daughter, and like the whole office like looking at us like, oh my God, you go back to like she's 8 and I'm like 30, you know what I'm saying? So and then those are and we just put it out there. Okay, we're being real for the moment, you know. Our professional faces change because it's human beings.
Yes.
But there's something special about family businesses. There really is. You know?
There is,
For all
yeah.
the people around it, I give them a lot of credit who kind of connect in there and work with us also, which is fantastic. And where's your business located in Lincoln?
We are located out of a home office. We converted a section of the detached garage and turned it into an office.
Exactly how I
Fabulous.
started.
Yep.
Exactly how I started in Lincoln, Rhode Island.
That's great. We're in such a beautiful place.
You
We
are.
look out the windows and there's trees and grass, and
Farm.
the dog comes with us. So
What's the
That's
dog's
awesome.
name?
we have 2 dogs. We have Barley and Gibbs. They're both
Okay.
Australian Shepherds.
Oh,
and they are
beautiful dog.
officially the office dogs.
Yeah,
that is
They must
awesome.
love those woods behind your house too.
Yes, they do.
They do. They
Yes,
do,
and the
yeah.
ticks love them.
Yeah.
So if you could go back, you know, maybe significant years, whatever is the part, who do you think was the most significant experience as a mentor to you? you have that one person,
I
two
do.
people?
I have the most important mentor that I've ever had professionally is Jan O'Brien, who's a speech language pathologist in New Hampshire, and was my cooperating teacher when I was doing my student teaching and finishing my master's degree. And I learned an enormous amount from her professionally, particularly about how to work with students with speech difficulties, but also just how to work, like how to operate in the school system and everything else. But then I also just learned so much about how to be an amazing human being.
That's great.
I think you were already an amazing human being. She just totally...
Well, she amplified it then.
That's
She raised it up
was
and
already there.
made it
Thank you,
more
Mom,
amazing.
over here.
And- yes,
Or Dad, whatever.
both.
You were right there. You're right there.
Well, thank you.
So she really complimented that part
She's
of you.
just amazing. We're still in touch, and
Are you?
she's just, changed the course of my life.
believe
Even though I'm
that.
not still working in the same industry, I still learned so much about
life.
about using your heart to guide your work, right? About making your work meaningful to who you are as a person and valuable to the people around you.
That's great.
This woman needs to write a book.
She's
You don't get to hear that
amazing.
often.
I would read her book every day.
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing.
Very different. way.
Jano, say hi.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the way you have said that about her, and that's such a passionate way of doing it. It's coming from the inside, you know? It's pretty cool, really. And we only have a couple of minutes left, but how do you balance it all? How do you balance it all? Because you're a busy lady.
On a tightrope with some juggling pins and hoping I don't fall. If the net holds, a lot of coffee.
A lot of coffee. What type of coffee do you drink?
A lot of it.
A lot of
Anything
it.
that's available.
Yes.
Same
Exactly.
thing. I drink whatever the coffee pot is.
What do you
yes.
got?
I know, like, I agree with that.
It does make a difference, absolutely.
No, it is. It's hard to balance it all, but it's funny because people will be like, "You seem so busy," but you don't realize when you're doing it. You're just going, right?
Yeah.
You're just making it work, and you go and you go and you go and you go. And I always say to people, if I wasn't busy, I'd be naturally lazy. So it's kind of good that I keep planning my life because I would be sitting on the couch watching TV all day.
And I think my children have taken a lot from watching us
Oh,
create
absolutely.
things.
Exactly. Like like my daughter, she does a lot, but I'm like, it makes her realize you can have fun, enjoy your life, and be involved. You know, because I think that's important.
Now, anyway, we have like a minute left, so but anyone wants to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
Our website is bpresources.com or backpocketresources.com. We have both. They're welcome to call. It's 401-450-5473.
Super.
Look us up on LinkedIn, anywhere else. We're everywhere.
We're
so
everywhere.
We're all
and
over
the name
Twitter.
of your business one
and
more time out there?
It's Back Pocket Resources. And when you're looking for just the right resource, keep us in your back pocket.
There you go. Thank you very
You're
much.
very
It's been a
welcome.
great
Thank you so
show.
much
Nice
for
to meet
having
you.
me.
No, we really appreciate it.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
your
much.
time.